Trump's upcoming meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. Let's bring in House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Brian Mast. He joins us now live. Thank you so much, sir, for joining the program. So please do tell us what we should expect from this meeting.
Look, with Prime Minister Netanyahu, you're going to hear discussion about the capabilities that they have to counter Iran, what they've already destroyed that hasn't been given, let's say, in open source information, the networks that won't continue to exist for Hamas, for Hezbollah, things going on with Syria, what we need to know for national security and terrorism across the sphere. It will be very comprehensive about what has taken place and what will be the path forward.
So the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon, wrote a piece in Fox News Digital today about the upcoming meeting. Here's what he said. He said, Trump-Netanyahu meeting has three things on the agenda that could change the Middle East. He says the two leaders will convene on Tuesday afternoon to discuss the next phase of the hostage release framework, the Iranian threat, as well as prospects of a Saudi-Israeli normalization deal. They're all very important issues, of course, but this idea of renewing talks on expanding the Abraham Accords to include Saudi Arabia. I mean, that was the deal that they almost got done before Hamas lit the flame of October the 7th. If they can get that deal done in the days and weeks ahead, how would that change the broader face of the Middle East?
So when you have that as the way forward, like we were discussing, then you have another country that's going in there saying they're not looking for concession from Israel as it relates to Gaza in all likelihood. They're accepting that Gaza had absolutely been the aggressor, continually year after year, launching rocket attacks, stabbings, bus bombings, you name it, and they are now ready to normalize with Israel. That is an important domino to fall in terms of the way that they move forward and what they demand or do not demand as it relates to any relationship with Palestinians. That's, I think, the biggest linchpin that takes place in the wording of what goes forward.
All right, so now to Secretary of State Marco Rubio and this USAID fight that is happening right now. He's the acting director of USAID, I should point out, and he spoke about this with our own Rich Edson. This is in El Salvador. I want to get your reaction to this. Listen.
Their basic attitude is, we don't work for anyone. We work for ourselves. No agency of government can tell us what to do. There are things that are happening at USAID that we should not be involved in funding, or that we have a lot of questions about, but they're completely uncooperative. So we had no choice but to take dramatic steps to bring this thing under control.
Okay, so what dramatic steps can you get behind here, Congressman?
Everything that Marco Rubio is doing, I am behind. He's saying that very nicely. The reason they have to shutter these doors is because they will go in, they will delete these things off of servers, they will work to hide them, they will simply say, no, we're not going to tell you. In front of me right now, if I was looking down, I have 3 or 4 pages of just provocative things they were spending money on, from $500,000 in Indonesia to help teach coffee companies on how to be more gender friendly, to just giving millions of dollars to people in the Caribbean for just being LGBTQ. Same thing in Serbia, other places. The list goes on and on of where they were just burning your money in ways that wasn't making America the partner of choice. And again, I have pages of these.
Congressman, that is, in fact, I mean, that's definitely true. But at the same time, USAID does fund a lot of legitimate businesses, does do a lot of good work around the world that's not related to any of those things that many people are calling a frivolous expense of taxpayer money. Why shut it down for 90 days? We heard just a moment ago in Matty Rivera's good report that there's a company out west called Causal Design that probably isn't going to be able to make its payroll and stay afloat if this 90-day pause actually takes place. Why not go through it with a fine-tooth comb? Sure, change the administration, but not shut down the funding that's so desperately needed by some of these businesses that are legitimate.
I don't think you can do it that way because of the way that they do work to hide this. And bear in mind, I chaired Foreign Affairs Oversight for the last couple of years. They will come to Congress. They will lie to our face. Even if you're holding up the document that says, well, this shows what you were doing. Here's your signature on it. No, I didn't do that. That's not what we did. That's what they will say to your face. You have to do it in this way because of the way that they have acted. And again, they're not asking questions across the board, even if they're providing aid. These 3 important questions. What does America America need from that country or region? What does that country or region actually want from America? Because most of the time it's not drag shows, it's not teaching them gender identity, it's not giving them comic books related to trans and other things. They want something different from us, but you also have to ask, does what we provide, if we provide something, does it get America what it needs or what it's asking for? And USAID systemically across the board has not been looking at the world or asking those questions in that way.
Congressman Bill Gates weighed in on The View. He's warning that millions could die if this funding comes to an end. Listen.
My foundation partners with USAID on nutrition and getting vaccines out. And, there's incredible people. They're not actually worms that work there.
Yeah.
So, hopefully we'll get some of that work back in shape. In fact, if we don't, you could have literally millions of deaths.
To him, you say what, Congressman?
Number one, every one of those groups that's working with USAID has the ability and they know the process to apply to USAID and to Secretary Rubio to say, this is where we're literally saving lives. We're not doing drag shows, we're saving lives. Please grant an exception for this. They know how to go out there and apply to that. Some people are saying they don't. They absolutely do. But the other thing I would say is this is not the baby being thrown out with the bathwater, as people, sometimes say. LGBTQ, trans, DEI initiatives were not the exception or the outlier. They were the rule of what was going on. And when you actually look at these lists comprehensively to see everything that they were doing, you really start to realize that.
All right. Well, Congressman, we'll keep following this to see where it goes and whether or not the 90-day pause does stay in effect. Appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now this.